New Zealand is very westernized, and you wouldn't think you drive on the other side of the road, so that's weird. That takes some getting used to. But other than that, they have all of the Western conveniences that you'd find here. So there's almost nothing that you can't get there that you get here. I mean, obviously certain brands of food and stuff like that are different, but for the most part, it's America in the Western conveniences, but there is a very different culture. A lot of their slang they still use the word far out all the time to mean a lot of different things. Ah, far out. That could mean that's awesome, or like, oh my goodness, far out. They say that all the time. Their ice cream, like the best in the world, period. Their chocolate, amazing. They have a lot of sheep, a lot of cows. Actually, there are more sheep in New Zealand apparently than people. But yeah, their ice cream parlors. There's one near the temple that it's called Poconos. You get a scoop of ice cream. I'm not exaggerating. It's the size. It's like bigger than a big grapefruit. It's ridiculously big, and it's amazing. One thing that I always enjoy is there's lots of little corner shops. Okay, like you have convenience stores here, but they're everywhere. Like you find them, like here you find convenience stores on a big major road. Okay, and where there you have little. It's kind of almost like Portland. If you've ever been to Portland, where there's little corner drugstores or little, you can just be in the middle of a whole little neighborhood, and then just right there on the corner, little dairy, as it's called a dairy, little dairy, where little convenience store, and you almost wonder, that's not the only people that are going to that store. It's not a gas station. It's a little store, little convenience store. The only people going there are people in that neighborhood, but they're all over the place. So, in fact, the best Italian food I've ever had in my life was about 2 blocks from one of our apartments there are called flats. So it was a couple blocks, and there was a little dairy, and then this little Italian place had the best seafood pasta I've ever had. But we would always go there for lunch because they're big on like meat pies. I wish I could have one right now. I mean, they're think of a pot pie, but times a million. I mean, the crust is just flaky and the filling is just amazing meat. I mean, it's very, very, very tasty. They don't really have anything like that in the U.S. Everything else, though, I mean, Pizza Hut, McDonald's, KFC, I mean, everything you can find there. I don't know if this is the same now, but there's a lot of internet cafes. You don't really have those here that much. Everybody has internet. Whereas there, it's like this whole place with 100 computers. And you go there and it's pretty cheap. You pay like a few bucks an hour to use the internet. And a lot of times, those are where people will go to play World of Warcraft or online games. So it's like this big, it's like half of them are people using it for business or personal, and then the rest of it is just gaming. So that you'll find those all over the place. If you don't like the weather, just wait. 4 seasons in one day. It rained a lot there because the way the island is set up, you're never 30 minutes, 40 minutes or more away from the sea. You're always a half an hour from the beach. So because of that, you can get these gorgeous, not a cloud in the sky. I'm not even like not a cloud in the sky. Hour later, pouring. Doesn't snow at all where I was. Where our mission went to, which is from Auckland, it's like 8 hours south. If you're thinking of the Lord of the Rings, this is how I compare it. The North Island or Auckland is like where the hobbits lived. Real green, lush, rolling hills, kind of some dense forests, but no big mountains, okay? The South Island or the South Mission, which is Wellington, that's the other part of Lord of the Rings. Would think of like Utah, big, huge mountains with snow on it. there's no big, ginormous mountains like that in the North Island. North Island is like beachy, tropical type area. What's interesting is if you were to drive from the bottom of the South Island to the top of the North Island, and you had a freeway that you could go 70 miles an hour, you could probably do it in 7 hours. The reason why it will take you all day to drive it is once you get outside of Auckland, maybe an hour, the freeway systems pretty much turn into 2-lane roads with a lot of windy roads, and other places where it turns into a 1-lane road, and you're like 50 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. So it's frustrating because you're not actually that far, but it takes you forever to make those distances, those drives, because you don't have a freeway system that you're going 80 the entire time. So that was always a little frustrating. They don't call it miles, it's kilometers. Gas is petrol. It's just kind of naming things differently, but it's like, America, but just an alternate reality. There's just little things that are fun, that's the cool part. All the differences are cool differences. It's not like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get back to America, because they have everything that we would have that you'd want, but other just really awesome. Obviously the environments are really lush, and they just have a culture there that we don't have here. Their meeting houses, their houses, I wouldn't say there's necessarily much difference. They're big on wooden floors. Like, you don't go into a lot of houses with carpeting, wooden floors. 80% of the houses, all wooden floors throughout the house. I don't think they have not many houses have central heating or air. They all have, coolers, or the little things you put in the windows, or little portable heaters. There's just no reason to have central air there. So it does get hot. As a missionary, the most frustrating part, if you're on a bike, is the weather can change. So you always have your rain jacket and your umbrella, and if you get caught out in the rain, so be it. But it gets hot, but not California 110 degree hot. And it doesn't get blistering cold either. It's, pretty mild extremes. So the weather is about as perfect as you can ask for most of the time. There is a flip-flop, like Christmas is the hottest part of the season. It's reversed. Their summer is December and those months. So you have barbecues at Christmas time. The idea of like Christmas tree and winter wonderland. Now, there it's the same culture of people on the beach and barbecues and everything that we have during the summer. That's during, November, December, January, February, whereas our summer months are cold there. They do have a rivalry with Australia. It's kind of like, not like a we hate you, but probably the same as like America and Canada, where we make fun of each other. We're not competitive in the sense of sports, but there, that competition, think of BYU and like the University of Utah, that harsh rivalry. There's nothing evil about the University of Utah, but you get BYU students that are, they're the devil, right? That's just the stigma of like, let's beat them. Same kind of rivalry with Australia and New Zealand because of rugby. You have the All Blacks, which are the national rugby team, and then I'm not sure what Australia's is, but that alone is where that rivalry comes into play. Outlets are different. The money looks like Monopoly money. When I was there, I don't know if it's different now, but like for every dollar here was about $1.50 there, but things were inflated. Even 11 years ago, going to McDonald's, you'd pay $8 for a value meal. You don't even pay that here now. So, it was pretty comparable. So the prices seemed high, but the dollar ratio made it fine.